Good evening. The Building Facilities Construction Committee meeting of Wednesday, November 15th, 2017 will now come to order at 7:01. Sean and Ginger will not be with us. They've been excused. Okay, first item on the agenda, municipal building and primary school roof capital projects. Bill?
Okay, with regard to the agenda, there's not a lot to update with items 2, 3, and 4 from last meeting. So
Okay.
I'm going to, normally we probably would have canceled the meeting with the exception of item 1, which has some activity, so I wanted to get some input from the board on what direction to proceed in, so that's why I felt we should still meet. So the first item in your packet is the project budget. That's a current picture of where we're at. Again, the contracted amount, already completed contracts as well as pending contracts is that first column there, 889. And we've paid 874 to date, leaving about 15,000 left to pay out. The uncommitted funds, which have already been allocated to the project, are in the order of 27,000.
Okay.
So there is some balance remaining in the budget. That's all I wanted to point out with regard to that.
Sure. Anybody have any questions regarding that? If not,
And
we'll
of
proceed.
course, the school portion, you know, that second set of columns, the school portion is under their jurisdiction. They do still have the 21,620 in their account, but that's separate from what we
Right.
have for the municipal. As you may recall, we had a significant rain event at the end of October. It's my understanding we had in the order of 5 inches over about 8 hours, which is fairly significant. During that time period, we had some leaks in the roofs that were newly installed, you know, in the municipal area, in the gym, as well as at the primary school. Jeff did replace some ceiling tiles. It was not as significant, I think, as the gym roof, but it's a smaller roof area as well. So nonetheless, we're still assessing both.
Okay.
George from GRLA did prepare this field report at our request immediately after the rainstorm event, and we discovered the leaks. I did email this out as soon as I got it, but I did print out a hard color copy for your packet, so you have it. Mike, I was on vacation when this happened. Mike was good enough to go up and join Adam and George on the site visit.
I saw that, yeah.
I just happened to be in the building at the time.
Thank you for doing that.
So, generally speaking, what I think, aside from the obvious leaks, this kind of shed some light on some issues with regard to the workmanship. But by us meaning Mike and Adam, taking a closer look as a result of the leaks at the quality of work on the roof. And subsequently, I went up with Mike and Adam, and I took some photos, which are also in your packet. There are a number of concerns that some of which are noted in the GRLA report, and some which are not noted in the GRLA report. Mike identified and I saw there seems to be a consistent issue with something underneath the membrane. Okay, so the way they build it, they put the insulation down.
Are you talking about these?
On my sheets, no, not the round things, but if you read my notes in my photos, you'll see photo 3 near the tip of the pen.
Oh, yeah.
Photo 4 near the coin.
That's actually a quarter that I put on the roof, so that would give you an idea.
Some
Okay,
scale.
that's pretty bad, yeah.
Some scale. Now, those round things that are on a regular pattern and regular spacing, those are normal, those are to secure the insulation down, okay? And that's part of the design. It's these other ones that we don't know what they are. We can suspect what they are. I mean, it's likely they're stones or pebbles or gravel or
Acorns,
something.
yeah, something.
Acorns, could be something.
Yeah.
But what we noticed when we were up there with regard to that is that's pretty uniform throughout the entire roof surface. It's not like it's isolated to a particular area.
That there's mysterious
Bumps.
bumps. Okay.
Yes. And so that's concerning. And I did mention that to George, and I was a little concerned with George's response. It's not in that item, that particular item is not in George's report.
How long has it been since this roof has been laid?
Well, let me finish
Been a long
first.
time.
Hold that. If you want to speak, just put your hand up. Go ahead.
So that was not in George's report. We've identified it as a potential issue. The manufacturer, well, I'll talk about the manufacturer in a minute, but, so we think, well, I think we should take a closer look at this, okay? It's concerning that when I mentioned it to George, and I think Mike may have pointed it out when he was on his site walk with George, George's response was, well, that might be something coming up from the surface of the roof, and it's not something that was not cleaned off of the roof. And so,
Are you,
so the thing that concerns me about that is, if I'm looking at it from the architect's perspective, if I didn't note it in my inspection reports while it was occurring, and then I did this punch list and I didn't note it in the punch list, and it's being observed now, they may have some responsibility with it. Not just the installer, it could also be the designer as a result of missing that during inspections. So, to that end, I did talk to the administrator, I also talked to town council as a result of that. And town council suggested that if we want to, what we should do is take the plan, the drawings and the specifications, solicit some prices from some other roofing contractors so that they can go up and do an independent review of the roof relative to the design parameters. So they'll know what was installed, they'll know what the contractor was measured against, and they can identify an independent report with all the defects in it. And I'm using this issue with the items under the membrane as an example, but there's other items that we're going to talk about in a minute. But town council's suggestion was that if we want to look at it a little closer, we need to get this independent contractor or designer to take a look at it and give us a report on it so they can identify the defects. So that's the issue with the items. I could either continue on other items or we
no,
can...
I think we need to address these items. And Mike, you had your finger up, you had a question?
Just for clarification, on the debris that's underneath the rubber, when I was up there with Adam and George,
Yeah.
and that other gentleman, I don't know what his name was,
Nima, I think.
Nemo or something like that,
Yeah.
I pointed out that material under there, and I suspect, and I had stated at the time to George and Nemo and Adam, that it's most likely debris from when they did the parapet walls. It's very solid material, you can feel it underneath. Consistent with like just crumbs from concrete.
Okay.
That's what I suspect it is.
Which should have been.
And that's why I raised my hand at the time, because there was a point where Bill is stating that George said that he wasn't aware of it. He was aware of it because I made him aware of it. Because it's concerning. And because the more you walk on it,
Sure.
in the wintertime, we're gonna have shoveling issues and all these other things going on. It was a concern of mine. I don't know why George didn't put it in there, but that would be up to him to answer, I guess. One other thing that I just want to talk about is there's a report in here from Versico. And the concern I have on this is on the back of the first page, the second section, which is A3-A3D, non-Versico roofing products installed. I would like to have those identified, whether it was by Versico or, and I would think it would have to be by Versico in order to have them properly identified, because it's only gonna be up to an opinion of a independent consultant or whatever to verify that. Where Versico would have more knowledge as to what their actual products are.
Okay.
All I have for this moment.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean,
Linda?
when we were dealing with all these issues before about the bubbles and all that stuff a while ago, I was under the impression that Versico had said, looks good, we'll warranty it.
I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
I had a question
Wait a minute,
before we
wait a minute.
You have to go through.
So,
ahead.
yeah, that was the only one on that. So
Okay.
I'm all set.
All right, go ahead.
All right, I have a question about picture number 1 of, from,
Leak above the bleachers?
yeah,
Okay.
what, is this spot a roof leak? Is that water, or is this water, or where is the water stain or mark in
It
that
appears to be
picture?
coming, and I'm guessing, I wasn't there, but it looks to me as though it's coming from the edges of the main beam.
You're thinking this black spot there is the
No,
water?
I'm thinking these streaks coming down the wall
Can't even see that. Okay, underneath,
underneath the main
right underneath
main
that beam, so right above that
Mike,
blue
did you see
sign.
these?
No, I didn't, they had already gone through that area before I seen them
Yeah.
when they were on the roof, so that.
Generally speaking, what I've seen,
But you
and
can see it there and underneath. it,
Correct,
if
yeah.
you look closely.
Yep.
Directly under the beam and
Okay.
right under the sign, and you can see a faint streak.
the ones that I've seen
Okay, so where the
have
specs-
been along the edges of the wall, generally speaking. I'm not sure if that's what you saw when you were out there. Were there any just dripping?
No, not from outside. I didn't see anything from
Okay.
outside.
Okay. Any other questions? Before we move on?
So this picture is taken of, it's this wall, right?
Correct.
So it's probably this, whatever's going on there.
It is
Photo-
close to
photo
where
five.
that puddle is.
Photo 5.
Where, if you look at the standing water on the roof, it's close.
This
Yeah,
is causing that.
potentially, yeah.
Well,
So we'll talk about each one of these things.
Sure.
But for me, the thing that stood out were those, and I'm going to underscore this at the end of my conversation, but these miscellaneous debris items were not called for in George's report, and that's why I think they're a standout. We need to think about that separately. So in addition to that, George was very diligent about identifying where the leaks were inside the building as a result of the evidence from the water, okay? He's talking about a lot of the roof patches, and again, I want to thank Mike because Mike pointed this out to George. The manner in which these patches, if you look at different patches, they were done in different manners. They
Yeah.
were repaired in different manners. It's my understanding, based on conversations with Mike, and George has not confirmed this yet, but typically, when they put a patch on a leak, or a problem area in the roof, they patch it with another piece of membrane. They'll put down adhesive tape around the perimeter,
Right.
And then the edge, that rough edge, they'll put a bead of sealant.
That, they'll put that, it's an uncured rubber membrane that they put down first over the whole area.
Okay.
And then they put the patch on top, and that first uncured rubber membrane is supposed to stick out a half-inch past their patch.
Okay.
Which is common sense.
Yeah, no, I just,
Yeah.
for clarification, because it wasn't around the perimeter, it's the whole
okay.
thing. It's just an adhesive.
Okay, so it's,
Yep.
so it's an entire sticky back thing
Sure.
that sticks the patch over onto the membrane. And then they seal the edge, they should seal the edge with a bead of sealant.
sealant. Yep.
And that's supposed to be left up and have a bead, so it's supposed to be protruding above the roof surface. And that's done for a number of reasons, which I'm no expert on, and Mike could
Yeah,
probably
no,
clarify.
I
The
understand.
biggest reason is if you have a standing bead around it, it's pushing the water away from the joint. That's its only purpose of that caulking that goes on there.
So if you-
Don't these get,
You have to,
these usually get torched on, melt, like the edges get either hot, do you know what I'm talking about? The
oh,
hot
I know what you're talking
asphalt?
about, when you
Yes.
get done now.
Go ahead, you finished?
It's usually, not quite.
Okay, go ahead.
I am looking, I'm looking at these two different pictures, and they definitely were done different, using different methods. Different, maybe different materials too. I don't know, I wasn't there when they did it. But I thought usually the seams were applied hot. It's not just a caulk gun, but it gets, do you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Want me to clarify that?
Are you all set with,
Yeah, I guess.
okay,
I mean,
Mike, go ahead.
Okay, so what you're describing is a torch-applied roofing system? That's not what this is.
Okay.
This is just a rubber membrane that, for easy understanding, it's contact cement. You put down a layer of contact cement, you apply that onto the insulation or your subsurface, you apply it to the rubber. When they tack up, you seal it down. So now when you do your seams, or you do a patch, you put on a primer.
Okay.
It's new rubber, so you don't have to clean it. But if you had to, you would clean it. You put down your primer, you put down that uncured rubber tape, then you would take your patch material, which has a cured top to it, so it's gonna hold up to the UV rays. You put that over the top and you put your lap seal on. That torch applied system is a different system
Okay.
altogether. You would never put a flame near this stuff.
Yeah.
It would blow up.
Bill?
No, I just want to confirm, I did take a look at the specifications, and it doesn't say anything about applying heat. It does talk about the method that Mike is referring to
Okay.
in the specs. So, anyways, it doesn't get into extreme detail in the specifications. It refers and relies on manufacturers' recommendations on installation, which I didn't have access to. But it's my understanding that if you look at these areas, you'll notice the variation, you're correct, in the variation in application. It looks like they screeded the joints after they applied that beaded surface on the
The lap
edges,
sealant.
the lap sealant on the edges of the joints. And, you know, you'll see some of the edges that don't have any lap sealant.
Right.
Okay, so some of them are going vertical up the side of the parapet wall, and those don't, that pretty uniformly doesn't have the lap sealant on the edges. So you got a variation on these things. George has agreed with that and identified those as issues, so that's in George's report. Now, the other issue with regard to the roof is this ponding area. If you take a look at photo 5 and 6,
Yep.
now the thing with the finger going under that sealant, that is a regular occurring thing. So, I mean, I think it's not supposed to do that. You shouldn't have the ability to lift these things with your
Sure.
finger. But in a number of places, we noticed that you could do that. the standing water, the manufacturer will allow standing water as long as it's not on a joint or a seam or a patch area. So the recommended solution for this low-lying area is to run another membrane over this entire area so that there's no joints or patches within that area, and then fix the perimeter of it. Hopefully that should solve the issue with that. It shouldn't pond, but the specs say it shouldn't, but to go back and the only way to get to that is to get to the substrate, which would be the insulation, and redo all of that, which is an option, but the first thing we need to do is put it to Greenwood to see how they're going to respond. It is under their warranty. They have a 2-year warranty that they have to come back and fix any of our issues, and then we could, then we can see if the manufacturer warranties it and take it from there. It's surprising that the manufacturer allowed this kind of situation, but nonetheless, we'll get to that in a minute.
Well, I have a question.
Wait a minute. So Bill, you are pleased at this point with?
I think where I'm going to head after I summarize all of these various issues is I think we should talk about getting a price from a consultant to go in and look at these issues. We'll give them the reports that have been prepared. We'll give him a list of our concerns. He'll take the plans, specs, go up on the roof, take a look, and then he'll give us a report with recommendations on what should get done. And I think that'd probably be the best way to deal with it.
So would that be our recommendation to the Board of Selectmen? Because it's...
That would be our input to George, GRLA, and he would relay that to Greenwood.
Okay, but...
And then Greenwood would respond by saying, no, that, we don't need to do that, we'll do this, and then we'll deal with those things at that point in time.
Okay, because it's not our job to spend the money, is what we're a recommending board.
Correct, yeah, and Matt, again, I went through Matt
Okay.
said, talk to town council recommended getting an outside consultant if the board recommends that. If the board recommends it, I'll go back to Matt and say, look, I'm gonna solicit prices from consultants and
And get the okay.
and take it one step at a time.
Okay.
So I'll go to
Okay.
Matt if that's what your recommendation
Sure.
is. And then we'll take it from there. But
Okay.
otherwise, if you don't support that, if you think George is doing fine, or if, you think it's better we pursue errors and omissions, or whatever,
Right, I hear you.
we can do
Okay, you had a question.
Yes. Wasn't making the roof slope properly to the drainage part of the scope of work of the job?
It was, yes.
Okay, any other questions on that?
I guess my next question is, why hasn't someone just called the manufacturer and said, the roof's leaking, we've got this, 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 and this, here's the pictures, come and fix it, we want the whole roof redone? Just do it and see what they do.
We've been in contact with the manufacturer, and I'll get to that in a minute, because that's a whole different story. And, but I want to just talk about the issues right now.
Okay, Mike, you had an input or comment, question?
Yeah, just a comment. The roof is pitched to the outside edge from the center all the way down. It goes in both directions, actually. What's going on here is the lead edge of the roof is raised up a little bit, so as the water comes down, there's about a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch puddle that's over in this area. So the only concern in this area now is that one seam, it's right about here, that runs through it. And it's a very similar situation that we had on the school when they did that. Remember there was a question, I said, all you have to do is overlay a piece over, you get the seam out of the puddle and you're done.
So you're saying this edge right here is a little bit up?
Yeah, the roof edge trim
There's a lip.
is just up a little bit and it's creating a puddle because you have.
But why is
You
it
do-
like that, is
you
my
do
next
have the
question.
pitch, but-
I'll answer that. You have the roof edge trim you have rubber that comes down to it, then you have that uncured rubber tape, then you have another piece of tape all on top of there, so it's built up, and that's what's creating that problem. So whether the building itself could be a little raised in that area, and that's why we ended up with that situation in the first 15, 20 feet.
I'd have to go dig through George's drawings, but I'm pretty confident that he had a detail of that shows it sloping. It shows the condition being proper, where there wouldn't be a lip like that raised, so that there wouldn't be that situation. But I don't have to, I'll have to dig through the stuff to find it.
Just so everybody gets a chance, because it's back and forth here, just, and I know you have a question.
I think I'm acknowledging you each time.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Somebody else isn't, but that's
Okay,
okay.
I'll do
But
it.
Linda, you have any questions?
No.
Okay, Mike, you have something else?
Yep. As far as George's field drawings, or proposed drawings, are gonna be different than what field conditions are. This happens to be a field condition that's creating that situation. And I don't think it's a big
Well, I don't know.
Hold it,
we have-
hold it. He hasn't finished, go ahead.
I'm done.
All right, but you have to wait till he's finished, okay,
I do.
Rebecca? No, you jump right on, and please raise your hand or something, because we want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to speak. Go ahead.
Now I forgot what I was gonna say.
Well, it'll come back. Bill.
We were talking about the drawing details and the field
Yeah.
conditions varying.
Yeah, but we paid to have part of the job was these parapets were also, there was work on the parapets as well.
Correct.
It wasn't just a roof, it wasn't just a membrane that we're laying down, so I know there was sheet metal and the parapet was part of the job too. I would have to find the drawings.
Mike,
Parapet's not on that edge of the roof. That has nothing to do with the parapet wall. If you look at the picture, the parapet wall's right here.
yeah,
It's this lead edge.
Right.
That lead edge hasn't been touched in any
What was
other
that?
picture.
I can't see it.
Those are where the photos were that he took.
Oh, okay, this is just a photo.
okay. Mike, Bill, I'm sorry.
Raise your
Bill.
hand.
No, I mean this, the section one. It's
Oh, I see.
473, is that what it says?
It says 3473. Oh, A73. So it's A7.3, detail 3. So George did identify these ponding areas in his report, so it's something that he agrees with, and he's identifying as an issue, and he wants a proposed resolution. And that's not to say that this field condition that's created,
Yeah.
there might be another solution that's acceptable to the architect, and it's gonna go through the process, okay?
Right.
So George identified it, shared the field report with Greenwood, shared it with Versico, so everyone is on the same page. Versico's the manufacturer. And we're currently waiting for Greenwood to address these issues
Okay,
and see what their response is.
and how long has it been since?
Well, this field report came out October 31st. Okay. So we've been in contact with Greenwood in the meantime, and Versico, the manufacturer. So it's not like things have been sitting around, and Greenwood's been communicating. They've been responsive, not unresponsive.
Good.
They say that they addressed all the leak issues that were occurring. So that's what they've said in a recent email, I
Yeah.
think yesterday or the day before. Okay?
You had other issues.
Yeah, the other issues, again, I mean, it's stuff we've already commented on, but some of the sloppy work, like on George's photo 8, you know, that repair has so many issues.
Yeah,
I mean, in my opinion, that should just be entirely covered with one piece and then sealed. Now, what you can't get out of these photos too is also the fact that some of the lap sealant product appeared to be In some areas, not adhering. Other areas, it seemed to have like a bubbling occurring. So I'm not sure if some of the product was not adequate.
Okay.
Now, if we look at detail photo 9, is that the correct one? I believe so, yeah. Photo 9, along with, where's the one with the gym interior leaks?
That was in the beginning, I believe.
Yeah, photo
Yeah.
3. So if you look at photo 9, that's the exterior of the building. Obviously, there's 2 levels. The front level is where the locker rooms are. That's the single floor level. The gym area is the further back, the second story level. So if you look at photo 3 from there, that transition wall is that masonry wall, and you'll see the wet spots at
Yeah.
that transition area.
Yeah,
Now, we never used to get leaks, okay?
right.
This is the contradictory things. It was a significant rainfall event. I mean, I don't think we've had one of these in I don't know how long,
Yeah.
where it's been 5 inches in 8 hours. That's
Combined with wind.
combined with wind. I mean, it was a serious thing, so it's tough to
Right.
isolate the problem or the source. George is kind of leaning towards it could be the window in the gym area, in the gymnasium area, which is on the second floor, as the source.
It's the source of the leak.
Yeah, he's kind of trying to steer away. What I'm reading is he's kind of trying to steer away from the problem being a new roof issue. So then he started talking about potentially doing some testing on the roof by spraying water, and I don't buy it. And again, that goes along with my recommendation that we should think about maybe soliciting a price from a consultant and trying to get a good report on that.
You want to let them know what Adam's actions were in regards to that window?
I'm not sure.
He had somebody come in and seal the entire exterior of that window to make sure there was no issues with that.
Okay. And that was after.
After the fact.
Yeah.
They seal every pane of glass and the window itself, just to make sure that that wasn't an issue with
The
us.
source, yeah. So questioning where some of these leaks are originating, if there's competing areas, we want to try and hone in on what the source is.
If you can
Okay.
stick your hand in the seam, I would say that
Well, that's the opposite side of the building.
That's definitely an issue.
But yeah, there are similar issues on this area.
That's not
too.
holding water out.
And particularly above this area are some of the bubbling lap sealant areas, and, so there's some other issues in this general area.
Do we have pictures of what this roof looked like before the job?
I'm sure Adam does.
I think we did see some, so that we would know that these are issues, or there are
Yeah.
issues with the roof.
Yeah.
So it needs to be, I think we did see some.
And we do, because they did some core samples
Right.
of the roof to find out what it was made of and stuff
Right.
like that.
Right.
Okay.
That would necessitate a few patches, but not like that.
Okay. So the way George's report stands, it's in front of Greenwood. We're waiting for their formal response on it. I'm in the process of putting a report together to George. I have verbally mentioned some of our concerns to him, but I want to document it through a report. That's why we went up and I took these photos, and I'm going to put a cover letter on this and send it off.
Sure.
I'll probably have Mike take a look at it before I send it to make sure I didn't miss anything. So that being said, we learned as a result of this that when we got the warranty, we started looking at, what the warranty issue was and the status of the warranty. And we learned that there's this thing called an early release warranty, which no one knew about, GRLA didn't know about. And it's a full warranty, but if you look at the warranty certificate itself, and both the primary school as well as the gym roof have this designation, early release, but it's not written out, it's just ER. So if the layperson's not gonna know what ER means on a full-page warranty, but Versico knows. And what it means is, it's, from their perspective, it's not a finished project. They have a punch list that Greenwood still has to address with Versico, the manufacturer. So before Versico will issue them a full warranty, they need to address their punch list. And that's why we got this inspection report, which I just got today, and I sent out to everyone, as well as there's the early release certificate, which lists certain things from Versico. We have one for this building. We weren't able to yet get the copy for the school. We're in the process of that. That being said, I still think even Versico's list is shorter than what George and I saw and Mike saw up on the roof. So I want to try and get everyone on the same page. I see some pushback on George on a couple of the items. Like I said, he's talking about, those debris things that are below the membrane possibly being, a result of the insulation or something that's getting pushed up underneath the membrane. Not that the surface wasn't cleaned before the membrane was placed. That's number one. Number two is this issue with the leak in the locker room area. So those are the two main points where he's kind of given a little pushback, which I do take issue with, and I think, from my perspective, we should all be looking to Greenwood to give us reasons as to why these things are not their issue, not the architect.
Right, okay.
So I think it'd be best if we do solicit some prices. I did get, in the packet, I asked Danisco to give us a list of some people that are qualified to do this kind of thing. They gave me 3 or 4 names, so with the board's direction, I'd like to solicit some proposals for them to go up to the gym as well as the primary school and do an independent review of the work relative to the scope and generate pretty much a pseudo punch list.
I have a question.
Linda?
Now, the primary school, are there issues with that still?
They're not as significant as this. They did replace a few ceiling tiles as a result
Yeah.
of leaks.
But they haven't fixed the leaks.
No, they replaced ceiling tiles. Again, it was
Wow.
the significant storm, you don't know where, with roof membranes, I mean, we just did a small area of the primary school. You could have a leak way over there and it could end up coming down here. It's a little more difficult to pinpoint.
Good, okay. Anyone else? Yes.
How long
Rebecca?
has this roof been installed?
Last year, wasn't it?
Are we going on a
During
year?
this past year, not quite a year,
Not quite a year.
yeah.
This past,
So we
this
did go
past-
through a winter with it on.
No.
No, I
And
don't
then
think
in the spring, we
so.
had that
Spring.
heavy wind
Yeah,
Right,
that
Okay.
blew the rubber off the parapet wall.
that's right.
And then we had to get the pads done.
Well, I mean, winter really tests the mettle of anything in New England. We haven't seen anything yet.
Looking through this inspection report that's here, the very first page, if you look at the top, that's the primary school. If you go to the second page, it's the municipal building. Okay. And just did that for clarification.
So are you for,
Well,
You're the
both of
municipal
them have the
proposal.
same issue that is pretty alarming. I would support Bill 100% as far as getting an independent consultant in here and talking to town council, because I think we've got a bigger problem than it appears. And why I say that is, if you look at A5 on the back of the first page, and you look at 5-5A, which is the same thing, They're calling for the fastening, which is those little round plates that Bill talked about with the screws,
Yep.
to be 12 inches on center, and on future jobs to be 6 inches on center, and I don't have to go back up there to tell you that they're not 12 inches on center.
Why, how far
That's a
apart are
big
they?
problem.
Okay.
How big are, how far are they?
Yeah.
18 plus maybe?
At least.
Yeah.
Now, is this a grid, Mike, you think?
Oh, yeah.
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 They might be in one direction, but certainly not the
No,
other direction.
no, it's not consistent.
Right.
They're telling them, in this report, to fix it. They want it fastened 12 inches on center. And in the future, put it 6 inches on center. So then
Yep.
they're making a concession to allow them to go 12 inches on center. In order to do that, you need to take the rubber off. We got a big problem. So I think at this point, we should make a recommendation. I don't know if we need to do it in a vote. Make a recommendation to have him solicit some bids, get a consultant in here, and then talk to town council, because I'm concerned with George not backing us 100% and being on this, because if I didn't walk around with the roof with them, then I'd be like, oh, I don't know what was said to him. But when I specifically point the things out, and it's not in the report, then turn around and say that it's migrating from the subsurface through the insulation. If I remember correctly, the insulation is pretty thick, that's why we built up the parapet
Yeah,
walls.
that would be-
So
yeah.
how are you gonna get a little pebble
I know,
on a stationary roof to migrate up through it?
a lot of little
Impossible.
pebbles.
There's no
Not just
possible way.
one.
There's no possible way. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you need that in a vote, a motion, or?
I could either take it by consensus or by a vote. Either way, it's up to the board. I mean,
So
Matt,
just for point of clarification, your recommendation is?
my recommendation is that the board, that this committee recommend to the Board of Selectmen to hire an outside consultant to do a peer review of the installation as well as the design of the roof for the primary school as well as the gymnasium here at the municipal building. And then generate a report utilizing the design documents and versus the manufacturer's installation procedures versus what was done in the field.
Everybody okay with that?
That's gonna be pretty
I-
expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, that's, I mean,
Go ahead. You want to make a comment on that?
Well, I was just going to say, that's why we're going to solicit prices. In my opinion, I think Mike's absolutely right. I think we have different levels of issues here. I think not only Greenwood, I think a lot of this stuff could have been caught by the architect and should have been caught by the
Absolutely.
architect.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I think we need documentation for two reasons. So we need to take this independent look, generate a report, share it with everyone, and then see how Greenwood responds. Let's say it may even help if we put in a claim on the insurance, or, there's things that we can do. So we need to take it one step at a time. First, quantify what the issue is, then make some recommendations based on that.
Okay, Mike had his.
Yep. What Bill just explained, if we go the insurance route or we're going for a liability issue with one of the parties, all that expense we'll be able to recover that as part of the claim. The process that we're doing now, we're paying George to make a report on stuff that he missed, and he's still missing it. I have a problem with that.
Linda?
That's what I was gonna say. This outside consultant will be independent from GRLA.
Yes.
Okay. GRLA will not be part of that
That is correct. It's
second
independent.
opinion, yeah.
Okay, Rebecca.
I think this report is kind of your magic bullet, though. You've got the manufacturer, I mean, I don't know what further documentation you need when the manufacturer is telling you, yeah, this isn't gonna be warranted for 100-mile-an-hour wind because the fasteners aren't spaced properly, plus we have all this, we have tons of pictures of the roof with patches and this, things underneath the membrane, da-da-da-da-da. So, I mean, I guess my question is, do we want to force the contractor to try to fix it, or are we going to absorb the cost of trying to have it the job redone and then having them pay for it? I mean, we already paid $150,000 for a roof. We have specs, we have drawings, we have reports. We should have a roof that's functioning.
Comments?
Well, again, I think the procedure is quantifying it. I don't have full confidence GRLA is going to identify the full scope of the issue. With regard to the warranty, the manufacturer, I've heard it from the manufacturer's rep's mouth, we have a manufacturer's warranty. Their issue is not that the warranty's limited in any way, shape, or form to the town, even though they've identified these things in the punch list. In their punch list, they've issued this early release warranty, which is valid in full from our perspective. And it was a learning curve understanding what that was for maybe a week and a half. Because, you know, at the beginning, we didn't think we had a valid warranty. But we do. And the manufacturer stated that. So, that said, I still think these are big issues, and again, I think that's why we need to get an independent person out here and take a look at what was spec'd, what was done, what's adequate, what's inadequate, what needs to get redone, that kind of thing.
The warranty starts at the point of substantial completion. So when that was determined by George's report or whatever is when it starts. The warranty cannot be any longer than 20.5 years. So if it takes them 6 months or 9 months, we're not going to get 20 years from the time they're finished. We can only get a maximum of 20.5 years.
Okay.
As far as having an independent consultant, this report was generated to Greenwood, correct?
Correct.
It's not their opinion to help us. They're just stating what the deficiencies and what they would accept from Greenwood. They gave us this as a courtesy. I think we need an outside consultant that's going to come in, identify what the problem is, and make a recommendation on how to correct it. Then the Board of Selectmen, Town Council, Bill, the administrator, whoever it is, going to use that to get the problem corrected. I think that would be the proper way to go about it.
So,
I'm all set.
one more.
Are you ready for me? I'm just thinking about it logically, that it's November, it's the middle of November. We start messing around with consultants, going backwards, he said, she said, you know, taking more pictures, getting more quotes. We could conceivably have 2 feet of snow in 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And what we're talking about doing, we might not finish that whole process before the end of winter. And so then we could, and if the roof, you know, doesn't hold water, it with 2 feet of snow on it and melting and thawing, and that whole cycle all winter, we could be looking at damage to the building. I mean, there's only so much that you can, I mean, we don't have people in the gym 24 hours a day, you know, waiting for leaks to happen. So it's a concern. I mean, if it were July, you know, it's a different thing than mid-November.
Okay. Mike?
All right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hiring a consultant to look at this roof has nothing to do with the whole process that's going on right now. Greenwood doesn't even know that we're hiring a consultant. George doesn't know that we're hiring a consultant. It's in their lap to correct the current problems that we have. Nothing is stopping. What we're doing is protecting the town's interests by getting an outside consultant to identify the deficiencies that I haven't seen, George hasn't seen, Bill hasn't seen, Adam hasn't seen, making recommendations to correct it. That doesn't stop anything. Everything is still moving forward. They have full control. We haven't told them, you're not allowed on the property. We told them we have a problem, you need to fix it. They're not fixing it, not quick enough for me. Apparently not quick enough for Bill to make a recommendation like that. So it's in, I understand we're gonna spend a couple dollars to get a consultant in, but we need to do something because the actions that I've seen since this project started are pretty poor. So we need to do something to help, to protect the town and help it. So I still stand with supporting Bill's recommendation.
Okay.
Well, I agree with Mike from the aspect that, let's assume this thing goes in a bad direction. This would give us ammunition and documentation forthwith at the beginning in the onset when the problem was first identified. So I think, again, it's getting your ducks in a row in case we have a problem. In a perfect world, we'll generate a report, they'll say, okay, we'll fix it, and they'll move forward. In a perfect world. I don't know if that'll happen, but I think we need someone other than GRLA to give us a hand with that.
Okay. All right. So is it the consensus of this board to recommend Bill's recommendation to the Board of Selectmen?
I
Okay,
Okay, I'll get
And I
some
agree.
prices and I'll present it to them.
very good.
Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yes. Okay.
So as I mentioned, items 2, the fire alarm, 3, the gym windows, and green energy really haven't had any movement since our last meeting, so I was putting them in there in case Adam had made some progress. He was going to solicit some pricing and change in scope. We talked about at the last meeting, and we hadn't heard back yet.
Okay, anybody have any questions on those items before we move on? And that includes, and I know this will be probably come before the capital committee, but he was going to look into if the cost of the wire
Correct.
exploration project and the IT
Right,
could be
and that's what
combined.
he's waiting for from GGD.
Okay, all right. And no information regarding the asbestos?
Correct.
Okay. And did we meet the grant deadline?
We did.
All right.
We got all the paperwork in. Whether or not it's going to be adequate is another question, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
All right.
Green
And there
communities.
was another issue, I think, that was brought up at the last meeting in regard to any word from the library regarding the painting.
I did distribute an email. I forwarded an email I sent, which was a response from the administrator.
I might have missed it.
As part of the energy reduction plan that CMRPC helped us with,
Yeah,
they did identify some improvements to the windows.
Good.
The library, which essentially is going to be caulking and sealing. And I think the administrator's email was saying that the window painting will occur at the same time that
Okay.
that's going to occur.
I missed that.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Anything else? Anybody?
I was wondering how you remembered all that, but you had notes.
Oh, because I went through the minutes.
Yeah.
I did. I wanted to make sure we didn't skip anything. Okay. We're all set for the minutes, right? Anybody? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the October 25th, 2017 meeting minutes as presented.
Do I hear a second?
One second.
Okay, Linda made the motion and Rebecca seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Upcoming meetings,
We'll
We don't
have
have
a
a
new,
schedule.
we'll have a new schedule at the next meeting.
okay, so the next meeting will be December 20th.
Correct.
All right.
Extra large.
Extra
5
large
days.
meeting
No,
scheduled?
no, it's 5 days before Christmas. I didn't know what you're buying.
Oh, size.
Oh, great. Anybody have anything you'd like to bring up before we proceed to resign?
Resign.
No, not resign.
The only thing I want
Adjourn.
to bring up
Adjourn.
is a motion to adjourn.
Do I
Second.
hear a second? Okay, Mike and Linda. All those in favor? Signify by saying aye. Opposed? We are finished at, 4 minutes to 8.
Nice.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.